Do you think the series is over?
I don't think it's over. Depending on Tyrese Haliburton. Like, if we hear that that this injury is indeed as bad as it was when it kept him out for 10 games in January this regular season, then it's over.
You want to hear the latest? Ryan,
Okay.
Ryan, I didn't put this in the rundown. It's hour number 2. Jones and Mego without Arcand today. We're live inside our Ford Clubhouse Fenway studio, and we're brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. You can get going during SUV season by joining the Bronco family, or get a great offer on America's best-selling trucks F-Series, official truck of the Red Sox. This was Shams on the McAfee show earlier today on the status of Tyrese Haliburton. Tell me, Mego, if this changes your mind one way or the other.
I'm told this morning that he re-aggravated that hamstring strain injury that he had earlier in the season in January. He missed 10 games with it. Obviously, a lot of concern today there in Indy. I'm told the Pacers got in at 3:15 in the morning last night, so it was an early morning, I'm sure, for a lot of those players, and they don't practice today. You know, his status is up in the air. It's the same hamstring. That's not an injury that you want to play around with. And he even had x-rays, I'm told, on his chest, not his hamstring, on his chest at halftime of that game. And obviously he got cleared enough from that. He felt good enough to try to give it a go in the second half, just could not get as much burst on that hamstring as he wanted, and he ended up sitting the game. And
So I don't know what the getting in at 3:15 in the morning has to do with, like,
exactly.
the hamstring is sleep deprived.
What time do you think the Celtics
perform worse?
What time do you think the Celtics got to Indianapolis? Like, I'd imagine the same time. Like, I don't understand that either.
Whatever, just extraneous information, I guess, to explain why they perform poorly in Game 3 at home when they've been so dominant at home in these playoffs. But yeah, it doesn't sound great for Tyrese Haliburton. So I guess maybe I still think that they can still get a game. I'm not feeling as confident on my 6-game prediction that I had before, but I still think, given what this Celtics group has done against the Heat, against the Cavs, two teams who I think were worse with their injuries than this Pacers team would be without Tyrese Haliburton. You know, like, Siakam can still go off and be a real pain. Turner can still go off and be a menace. Obi Toppin can come off the bench and give you some minutes. So
please.
I still think that this team, that it's really more about the Celtics.
If we're talking about Obi Toppin, the series is over. The series is over.
You thought it was over from game 1?
I did, yes, which means I'm right.
Yeah, but Rick Carlisle hadn't unleashed Doug McDermott yet, too. We didn't factor that in.
We're going to get to this in a moment. But hang on real quick, because this came up yesterday. The Pacers won games 3, 4, and 6 against Milwaukee in round 1. They won games 3, 4, and 6 all at home against New York. They, of course, won game 7 against the Knicks as well. Let's go back to the regular season. Ready? This is how they are at home, and this is counterbalancing what I'm saying. They beat Atlanta at home on April 14th. They beat Miami at home on April 7th. They beat Oklahoma City at home on April 5th. They beat Brooklyn on April 1st. They beat the Lakers on March 29th. They lost to their last home loss was March 18th against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I think
the last time they lost.
I think what's more relevant is how were they without Haliburton in that 10-game stretch in January. Like, I don't have that right in front of me, but I look at this, and if Haliburton's just going to be flat out, it kind of feels like stick a fork in the series.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to know what's going on with Haliburton. I want to know what's going on with – I agree with what you just said. It's really more about the Celtics and how locked in they are. If they coast coming off a blowout last night, and they've been known to coast and take games lightly, if they do that, it'll be a series. But it shouldn't be. That's how I feel about it. So is the series over? Yes. Real quick, you liked Mazzulla last night?
So I did, and I know what your counter is going to be because we talked about this a little bit this morning off air.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was excited to see the small ball lineup. This is what an incredible giant nerd I am, because I wanted to see that against the Cavs, and I wanted to see that against the Heat, because it's basically having Jason Tatum at the 5. And it's just a look where if you're going to think that there's any possibility that Porzingis is not going to be back in this round or the next round, you really have to play with these different lineups and give yourself different options that you can go to, not just based on the matchups on the other side of the floor, but what you have available. And so Luke Cornett goes out last night, and they go to the small ball lineup, and I thought it was really effective. And I was just glad that Mazzulla did that instead of trying to force something else in there.
Like Keta or somebody
Yeah.
like that. Fine. I mean, so if that's your stance, fine. I heard a lot
because he
of
hasn't done it once yet.
I heard a lot of this. I read a lot of this. Oh, give Joe Mazzulla credit for going to O'Shea Brissett last
You know
night.
me. I'm always falling over myself trying to give Joe Mazzulla credit for everything.
But I'm saying it's not just you.
Gets me excited.
I've heard it a bunch. It's like, oh, you got to give him credit. O'Shea Brissett played very well. 12 minutes, he was a plus 18. He had 3 steals. Like, he gave him good energy. And it's his former team, so, like, maybe there's a little edge there. But I give him no credit for that. Kornet got hurt. That wasn't his plan. It's not like he's like, ooh, we're going to get more O'Shea Brissett in this. Kornet got hurt. He had to go to the next guy on the bench. The next guy on the bench was Brissett. So, like, I don't know. I don't give him that much credit for it. The guy got hurt. If Kornet didn't get hurt, do you think he goes to Brissett last night?
No, I don't think so.
Me neither.
But he did it. I mean, ultimately, look, I guess maybe I'm just trying to come up with ways that I don't sound like such an utter bitch every time I talk about Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, you're just, I mean, look, it is
You
growth.
can work on it a little
It
bit.
is growth from you.
It's a little bit of brand redemption.
Yeah. It's growth to compliment. I should just
I gotta be honest, there's some times when I sit in that post-game press conference and I'm just sitting in that stupid little plastic chair and it's getting a little sweaty. And I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't ever turn it on in his car.
Oh. Yeah, well, he's listening to Seal and,
Probably.
There is no fear in this dojo.
getting ready.
He's probably listening to podcasts about like how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
He strikes me more as that type,
He's
you know?
worried about how he can wrap himself around
He's
another
like-
human being like a boa constrictor,
The Town on audiobook. I'm sure they exist. Just pop it in. Give it a listen.
The Town soundtrack. The Town on audiobook. That's just this whole commute. Yeah, he's not listening to this.